with us right now is Congressman Pete Sessions. Now, Congressman Sessions is a Republican from Texas and happens to be co-chair of the Congressional DOGE caucus. Welcome, Congressman. So the big picture question first I'd ask you on DOGE. I think the numbers we have from a Reuters poll are 51% agree with this question. But has Trump and Elon Musk, have they gone too far in their push to cut spending, which a lot of people actually agree with? But has the implementation gone too far? What would you say?
Well, I think that the agencies need to be able to make these decisions. And I will tell you that, for instance, in the Veterans Administration is months and months behind doing their job. OPM, Office Management Personnel, months behind doing their job. So I have no reason to believe that everyone in this government is not behind, which is why the president, I think, very properly and respectfully offered a buyout to people. I think that these agencies need to go in and measure 3 times, and if they need to, saw again, but they need to actually determine the needs of running their agencies, because when you simply have had this number of people out for a total of literally 4 years, there's a lot that needs to be done. Excuse me. And we need the ability to be able to ascertain that before we start moving necessarily to get rid of workers.
Right, which they're trying to do in a really, in a very fast way. And that's what some people's been rubbed the wrong way by that, how quickly they've moved. I heard someone say the other day, I think it was someone who agreed with the president generally speaking, that in order to get real change on anything, and including this, you're going to need the Congress. You need people like you, and you're in this DOGE caucus, that eventually, say, for example, you wanted to shut down the Department of Education. Well, you can't just do that. You can gut it, or you can cut a lot of it, I suppose, from the executive branch, but you would need congressional legislation, and there are other examples. So what does Congress have going on this front? DOGE-related spending cuts. What's Congress doing?
Well, in fact, you've said it correctly, I believe, but the Department of Education is entirely different. That's a funding mechanism that we can simply send the money to the states, where the work is essentially done back in the states within schools. These are laboratories. These are very important places that hold the key to benefits and ideas that we need to make sure that we're very careful on. And I've talked to Secretary Collins a couple times about the need to make at the VA. And we need to make sure that the numbers that we're dealing with, which means actionable items, that we're careful about. I don't disagree with the president. I think we need to do this, but the question is, at what balance to make sure you get the work done?
Are you working on any specific legislation? Is there any bills that we should be looking out for?
Yes. As a matter of fact, and you'll see that in about 2 weeks, and that deals with how we're going to look at data and information about people who we know have not paid their bills in the past, and we're going to, instead of pay and chase, we're going to move this upfront authority and responsibility to agencies. It may take an extra day or two, but they will run the data and information through known databases to make sure that they know.
What agency are you referring to when you say people haven't paid their bills? Like what would that legislation deal with specifically?
Well, we know, for instance, that there's $1.7 trillion worth of money that has flown out to the wrong person, unintended. Could have been the IRS, could have been the VA, but they do not use properly an upfront vetting process. They looked at their own data, and that data is not correct.
Does that include the Social Security payments? There's been a lot made of that, where people got paid too much. You're going to claw all that back, even though people, older people maybe were relying on that money and, received it already?
Let me see if I can go back. This is now where we're going to add the upfront audit up front, as opposed to pay it and then chase it. This is a process that was used by the pandemic.
So it would all be forward-looking.
It would all be forward-looking.
Understood. Okay, so that's something you said maybe a couple of weeks away. So we will look for that, because I've been wondering when when Congress would get involved directly. So I know you're on the caucus. So
we absolutely must agree with the president that we got to stop it. But when you've got some $300 to $500 billion worth of fraud that just exists
Yeah.
That tells you we got a leaky system.
One thought on, I don't know if you have a thought on it, but we've talked so much about it. Our previous segment, all this hearings going on now about the deportation flights. We'll see how it goes in Washington. I don't think we've heard anything about it yet. But this was a big issue over the weekend. Yet the administration says there's a bunch of gang members, many from Venezuela, or part of that Venezuelan gang, but they're being deported to El Salvador. A judge tried to stop the flights. Get them to turn around. They didn't. What's your take on all of this as you look in on it?
Well, my take is the president has said and told the American people he was going to do this for a long time. But I think the real question is if you're a federal district judge and want to become involved in this, it needs to be decided. Right now, you've got the chief judge of the D.C. court. He goes directly on cert, I am sure, to the Supreme Court. So somebody's going to have to decide that they want to take that order. Well, it takes the judge first to issue an order. The bottom line is the president's done his homework. The administration was prepared. They moved expeditiously. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there are many people out there that would shed a tear for what has been done thus far. I think that when you get into some different circumstances, using the same argument, national security may or may not be that right. argument then, and then we'll see what that argument will be. But I think the president is well within, at least from a Texas perspective and congressional perspective, the president, I believe, did what he said he would do, and he'll be judged on that performance. I'm proud of him.
All right, Congressman, thank you. Congressman Pete Sessions from Texas joining us tonight. Appreciate you coming on. Thanks very much.
You bet.